So last week we talked about Manchurian Candidate, the original. Today we're going to talk about the remake, 2004. It's a 22-year-old film that should freak you the fuck out. It seems like it's like we forgot about. I don't know if we forgot about it, but it seems forgotten. Um, but it's fucking Neuralink before Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
It's Elon Musk's dystopian computer brain implant. It's from 2004, but it's relevant. It's today. It's terrifying, especially given, and we've talked about this, that the military is the last line of defense against 1984. We've done that film. THX 1138. We've done that film. V for Vendetta. We've done that film. It's the last line against those governments. Star Wars level empires. It's the last line of defense until it isn't. Especially with what we're seeing now. The assassination of Charlie Kirk. The attempt on Trump. Propaganda, conspiracy. The idea of having something not only in your mind, not only messages that are going to your mind, ideology, which is the first one that we talked about last week, Manchurian Candidate, the original, 1962. This is something in your brain. And it's like, the truth is stranger than cinema. Manchurian Candidate, 2004, Rick, go.
I think I see this film a lot differently from you. Everything that you're saying is true. Everything that you're saying is and I don't put it past corporate America and international corporations to be working on the technology that would achieve what you describe. The thing about it for me is, and this is the first time that I've ever watched an original film, a remake or a reimagining, whatever the hell you want to call it, and I felt like the remake not only doesn't resonate with me, but makes the original worse. Because it does. It actually does. It's like I was watching. It's weird because I think both films are, number one, well made. And as far as espionage, I guess you would call it espionage political thriller, they're exciting and they have a certain level of enjoyable entertainment to them. But I think the subject matter calls for a much different approach. And I think that both films, the original film, I can't see the original film as doing anything but be a red baiting, kindling for something like the House Un-Americans Activities Committee or this Cold War I see the first one as nothing more than propaganda. Although it's enjoyable, it's propaganda. And in this film, what I see is a fabrication of danger, when the real danger that exists is the fact that our entire lives through network news, then cable news, and now social media is the thing that is brainwashing us. It's not a matter of the government is trying to brainwash a handful of hand-picked operatives.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So for me, it's like this is the wrong type of paranoia, when I guess mine is a little bit more of, we should all be afraid of the bullshit that is spread over us and is and is controlling us in a way that these two films at least are making entertaining light of. I don't see. Both of
I
them
get
bothered
you.
me on that. Yeah, I'm glad you did, because I wasn't sure if I could even explain. This has been troubling. I sat with this all day yesterday, and it fucked me up because I really wanted to. I wanted to be clear about what I think about both movies. It's not that I don't think that mind control and brainwashing have been explored as a means um, of controlling a populace. But the truth of it is that I think that advertising and political posturing does more of that, because we are. And maybe I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I don't understand the mind in a way that would make me any kind of an authority. But I do think from living my life and talking to people that the majority of people that I know and meet are willing to become sheep and are willing to buy into the bullshit. And I think I think films like The Manchurian Candidate and its reimagining move the attention in a direction that it's lighting fires in different it's lighting fires, basically, and the real dismantling is happening somewhere else. So I
I
can't I can't
Yeah.
give credit to these films in that way. Um, the ideas are frightening, but the reality of the
Yes.
world we live in is much more frightening.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, like it's like I said, truth is stranger than fucking cinema,
Hmm.
and it is. The thing is, like, I get what you're saying, and I
Hmm.
agree, but I think that, what we're talking about is more important than the films.
Yeah.
Um, and I want to make that very clear to the people who listen to us, and then if this is your first time for whatever reason that you found us and you're still here, number one, send us money.
Absolutely.
That's it. Number one. Number two, this is more important than the film. Our conversation is more important than the film.
Hmm.
This is like when when Coppola said, "My film is not about Vietnam. My film is Vietnam." Remember when he was full of shit when he said that? You
Yep.
may not know that he said that, listener, but he did. He said it about Apocalypse Now. And was it more important than Vietnam? No. Um, is our podcast more important than what the film we're talking about? Yes and no. This time for sure. The reason why is because we're making connections between the films that obviously the films don't make with each other because they're two separate fucking films that don't reference each other, and those gaps have to be connected. Um, we can all connect whatever gaps we connect, but this is a fucking thinking out loud project where we're fucking doing it here. Um, when you get into the conspiracy world, which this first film, the 62 film, dove into that. For those of you who don't know what the premise is about, it's about fucking the idea of the Manchurian Candidate comes out of post World War II, Cold War, Korean War, Red Scare contexts, where now it's the Western powers in a game of geopolitical control of spheres of influence, because that's how they're thinking about the world. You have these communist states like China and the Soviet Union against the West, NATO, UN, um, the United States. And in the Korean War, which was a proxy war between the forces of communism versus the forces of so-called democracy, the West, and those interests, um, which are corporate interests. Um, the Korean War was a proxy war between those forces. And once you started getting POWs, you started getting stories about the torture and the treatment of those POWs, and potentially having U.S. soldiers being brainwashed through torture and different methods, through mind control, through hypnosis. The U.S. government started looking at projects, creating projects, Bluebird, MK Ultra, where they would look at LSD, brainwashing, mind control. So this is the environment that the Manchurian Candidate novel comes out of in the late 50s. Then that becomes a book from the early 60s, 1962. A movie from the early 60s, 1962, with Frank Sinatra. Frankenheimer. John Frankenheimer directs. The movie comes out a year before JFK is assassinated. The film is about a liberal candidate who's assassinated. JFK is assassinated by a sniper shot. Was it a lone assassin? Was it a radicalized communist? Was it a patsy who was just taking the fall and then murdered himself as part of a right-wing a right-wing CIA / mafia / Texas / exiled Cuban conspiracy? In 1968, John Frankenheimer threw a party at his Malibu home. RFK was there. Later that night, RFK goes to the Ambassador Hotel, is assassinated. So John Frankenheimer directs a movie in 1962 about the assassination of a liberal candidate. The following year, a liberal candidate who was friends with Sinatra, who's in the film, is assassinated. And then 5 years after that, John Frankenheimer, the director of that film, throws a party or has a dinner or whatever. And the president who had been assassinated, JFK, his brother, who is running for president, is at that dinner. That night himself is assassinated by a lone, potentially brainwashed Sirhan, who claims to not remember what happened, had in his notebooks over and over, RFK must die, RFK must die, RFK must die. There are conflicting accounts as to where he was standing. There's urban legend saying that Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate were at that Malibu party. It's not proven. Of course, a year later, Sharon Tate's murdered. Questions about MK Ultra and Charles Manson. There are strands that lead to fucking Son of Sam. There are strands that lead to Zodiac. What I'm saying, the reason I'm bringing all this weird shit up is because all this craziness, all of these little factoids, all these little points in history connect in weird ways, and the conspiracy-minded person is going to connect them. And you have researchers looking at all this shit. You have films, books. Some of these researchers, they say, well, these are top-down plots that the CIA was doing this. Look at what they were doing. They were doing this. They were doing that. There are other elements that say, well, was it that there was a plot, or was it that the cultural conditions were set where you have CIA activities plus counterculture equals a deadly mix of secrecy, cover-up, chaos, like the book about, kind of, was Charles Manson an operative? Was he MK Ultra used? What I'm getting at is that this is a fucking mess. So if you go between Manchurian Candidate 1962 and Manchurian Candidate 2004, which is updated And yeah, it's presented as a form of updated entertainment. The director's Jonathan Demme, Silence of the Lambs director. It's got Denzel. It's got Meryl Streep. It's about the first Iraq War, Desert Storm. Um, but the years it takes place, the setup instead of the Korean War, it's Desert Storm, early '90s. But it takes place post 9/11, pre second Iraq War, with already like instead of Red Scare McCarthyism, it's like terrorism, anxiety, WMDs, that type of shit. I get what you're saying in terms of we have more to worry about from the propaganda that we receive every day through advertising, marketing, political messaging, all of that. And I agree with that. Those things are, that's the software. All the ideology, all of the messages, all of the lock her up, hoax, all of the things that people hear over and over and they buy into those things, the Fox News, the fucking managed media, what Noam Chomsky called manufacturing consent, all of that is true. And especially on the it's not even that's not even I don't think left, it's just fucking more just establishment in general that is like left center, if anything, but with a little bit of left is like your CNN, your MSNBC. Fox News is full on fucking right wing propaganda, corporate as much as those other ones, but in addition to that, part of like other shit. With this film, the reason why I think this film is more terrifying because that's than the original is because the original is just pointing at like, yeah, it's just we're already brainwashed to buy shit we don't need every day. The software we're under attack from, yes. But this film gets into the hardware. And because of the software, if you look at it from in terms of like consumerism, it doesn't have to be like you're saying, some fucking soldier getting an implant, an actual implant in his brain that fucking like becomes the transmitter of the software propaganda signal or the trigger word or whatever it is. From a consumer perspective, it's like, well, you have the messages that say buy this product. And then once you buy it, now you have the loop is complete. You have the transmitter and the transmission. And if the phone is in your head, once the phone's in your head, you don't need fucking advertising, external advertising saying like buy it. Like the phone itself will fucking tell you in your mind that you should fucking buy it, like upgrade it and all that. And you'll have to because it's fucking, it's a thing. This is fucking cybernetic shit. This is like RoboCop. And if it's like, well, extend your life with this cybernetic fucking implant. We already have like pacemakers and those things help us. But eventually, what if we all start to go into transhuman fucking merging with the machine so we can live longer? But now all of a sudden, the stuff that sci-fi fucking nightmares are made of is like, well, my body's doing things that I don't want it to ever since I got this implant. What's happening? This film, through fucking Denzel, is pointing to that. And I actually think and I'll pass my rant off to you, but I think it would actually be more terrifying if it was presented under the guise of a consumer buys something and it starts to do that, or in the sense of like a RoboCop, rather than have it be this high level fucking government plot to take down the would-be president, blah blah, where we could see it happening on a small scale as a microcosm, because that's I think scarier. But this is why it should terrify you, because it's Manchurian doesn't The Manchurian Candidate in the original is, well, he's the candidate and he was tortured in Manchuria. In this one, it's, I think, also more accurate because Manchurian Global is a private equity fund, a multinational corporation like Wayland Yutani, like Tyrell Corporation. It's always these fucking oligarch billionaire assholes that own all the fucking property. They own all the intellectual property. They own all the fucking studios. They own all of your fucking streaming services. They own all your fucking devices. They own all the food companies. They own all your fucking seeds. They own all the farmland. They own all the fucking healthcare. They own all the pharmaceuticals. They own all the fucking candidates. They own all the fucking DNC. They own Chuck Schumer. They own fucking Hakeem Jeffries. They have Donald Trump compromised. They fucking own BlackRock. They own all these things. It's that I'm talking about. And I know in that sense, you agree with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's fucking, it's like I'm saying, it's more than the movie. The movie is just a jumping off point. And if anything, they need to remake this in as something else.
That's what I'm saying. And I know it goes against my mantra of you watch and review the film that you're watching, not the one that you wish had been made. But every once in a while, every rule or mantra or whatever is meant to be broken. Yeah. What I'm saying is that there's a better and more realistic film than what we're given. This falls back on old school cinematic tropes of this is where the danger is, and the kidnapping of people, the
which obviously is still a thing, you know.
Absolutely. But the thing is, like, I'm watching this film going, no, there's a point there. There's a point in watching both. There's a point in watching the second film that takes me back to the first film where I'm saying, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm becoming a victim of propaganda. I'm becoming a victim of the propaganda that this film is trying to warn me of a different type of propaganda that this film is trying to warn me against. And
let's break that down.
Yeah,
I get it, but let's break it down. So, which is the propaganda that you're falling victim to, that you would be falling victim to through the film telling you about other
well, there's the idea that that our government has our best interests at heart, because if you look at the first film, the problem with the communist, it's a communist insurrection that is being presented in an espionage type manner, where it's communist activity being slipped into our national identity. Angela Lansbury is a communist operative. She's being presented as the good American white mother who cares about her son, but it's a facade, and you see the level of evil that is there. Now with the Jonathan Demme remake, you see, I think to be honest, I think the remake is a lot more on point, because it does throw the heavy hand of the corporate world is more controlling and more dangerous, because we're seeing how much money and power is involved. If you heard what I just said there, what I started to say was Hillary Clinton, who I think Meryl Streep is obviously patterned after, is a senator. And I think this is one of the few times that Meryl Streep is vastly underused. I think there's more that she could have done in here. And everybody, you read reviews of it, and there was one review that I remember that she she is cited. Let me read this, and this is off the Wikipedia page, but Mick LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle wrote of Streep, "No one can talk about the acting in The Manchurian Candidate without rhapsodizing about Streep. She has the Hillary hair and the Karen Hughes attack dog energy, but the charm, the inspiration, and the constant invention are her own. She gives us a senator who is a monomaniac, a mad mommy, and master politician rolled into one. A woman firing on so many levels that no one can keep up. Someone who loves being evil as much as Streep loves acting. She's a pleasure to watch and to marvel at every second she's on screen." I don't know what film that reviewer was watching, because I don't think Meryl Streep was even allowed to
be as evil as she could have been.
Yeah, I don't. She wasn't given enough time. There are elements there that are where I see where Meryl Streep, and I was really excited. There were the two things that I was excited about watching this movie were Denzel Washington, who I think delivers a great performance in the film. It's all paranoia. It's all the tension and the unraveling of the character. Denzel does an incredible job here, but I also think Liev Schreiber brings a humanity to it that Lawrence Harvey could not approach in the original film. But Meryl Streep, Jonathan Demme, and the writers don't give her. It's weird. By expanding her role, they limit her in a way that Angela Lansbury was not in the original film. Angela Lansbury is much better because I think she's given more to work with. Meryl Streep is, and I don't think it's Streep, because because we've seen what she can do, we've seen what she has done. I think the filmmakers, the writers, and Demme are riding on the wave of Hillary Clinton and the reputation of Meryl Streep as an actor, rather than giving a character that really finds this senator, this woman, this monomaniac, as it's being described by Mick LaSalle. I think, in a weird way, I think critics are projecting onto Streep's performance something that she's not allowed to provide. I was really disappointed in that. That was really disappointing to me. So there's that aspect of it. Your original question, I think, I can't remember your original.
So,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
You had said that you had said something along the lines of like, in the film we're being warned about a certain type of danger or a certain type of propaganda, but while we're being warned about that propaganda, we're falling victim to a different type of propaganda.
So in the original film, I'm falling. It's the communist red baiting scare that I don't think was ever as. I think it was a very real thing, but it was nowhere near the issue that Hoover and McCarthy would play up, and it was and it doesn't address this in the original film, because it's subscribing to the paranoia, but to a degree, James Gregory's character, the senator, who I think is fabulous in that film, as the moron senator who is
like the cook.
Yeah, he is the cook. So there's a hint towards the exaggeration of the communist threat.
Right, when you can't figure out how many communists he's supposed to mention. Well, there are 57 Heinz communists.
I like that moment. I like that 57 Heinz moment. So you see that he's correct in his assumption, but his use of the communist paranoia is a struggle for power, because even he doesn't know what his wife is doing. He doesn't know that
Yeah,
he's a cuck. He's an
because
agent
it's
of somebody else's power hungry desire to control, to push this agenda. So there's that aspect of it where it's like
right.
um the
The
propaganda.
film.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, the I'm being drawn into this paranoia and asking myself, well, maybe there is some validity to it. Maybe there is. I imagine in '62 this was the height of the Red Scare after the House Un-Americans Activities Commission, but at that point, it didn't matter. The damage had already been done. Khrushchev was doing everything that he could to amplify it. I mean, I've seen that footage of him at the United Nations slamming his shoe on the podium. Uh, if you're of a certain age, you can't get that shit out of your head. And you also got to remember that I grew up in the '80s under the fear of Soviet invasion, uh, the day after, nuclear war, nuclear holocaust, that fucking moronic John Milius movie Red Dawn, which I think is an embarrassment. Um, there's all of that. So you're buying into that paranoia right there. That if you're watching that movie and if you're engaged in that film, there's a part of you that might be saying, yes, there is something to be afraid of. With the Manchurian Candidate, um, the paranoia and the propaganda is that big business, corporate entities are focusing their they're focusing their power and their actions on a small group, soldiers in this case, as the same as in the original film, to do the bidding, to to put somebody like that in power, when the real threat is, like I said, they've already got us. There's a reason that Donald Trump won half of the vote in 2000, first 2016 and then again in 2024. They have us. They've convinced us. They've forced us into believing this bullshit. I was talking to somebody just yesterday about the immigration problem, and he actually said, the immigration problem that we have because of the previous administration. It's like they can't even. They got to speak to it in code words. They can't say that Biden fucked up. They got to say it in that manner to give themselves a little bit more credence. I felt the whole thing. I don't I don't like being played. I don't like being told what to believe. And in both of these films, I feel as though whatever whatever kind of liberal Hollywood um, agenda they're trying to push forward, I feel as if the material is part of the propaganda, that maybe they feel that they're making this statement when the fact is they're working for the operative that they're against. I think
I see. Yeah, I mean,
Jonathan Demme has been has always stood as somewhat of a liberal filmmaker in Hollywood, um, and this film, maybe he didn't see it this way. Maybe he thought he was doing some. Maybe he thought he was actually making something that was substantial and shining a light on this problem, but um, it's creating a boogeyman that doesn't exist because it doesn't need to. We're being controlled. We're being controlled by CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and the political rhetoric on a fucking daily basis. And the fact that we don't take a step back and say, wait a minute, let's look at who's lying to us. Let's look at who stands to gain from whatever shit is being shoveled at us. I think that's the true danger. So I don't. That's what I mean by buying into the propaganda, the paranoia, and accepting this. Yeah, I think corporations have, and I don't think corporations are against utilizing the technology that is prophesied, I would say, in this film. And maybe the filmmakers are using it as a warning to us, but I think the real danger is far more. It's already there. It's already being used against us, and we're already buying into it. You talk to your average person, patriotism is nothing more than propaganda used to push a governmental and corporate agenda. Anybody who thinks otherwise, I feel sorry for you, because you you're unaware of the pawn that you were playing in somebody else's game. So these two films really fucked me up. And I got to be honest, when I watched the first film, I was like, okay, different time. But watching the remake really forced my hand. It really forced me to look at it from a different perspective, and I feel insulted by both films. I think that they're both very dangerous films, but they do force a conversation that you and I are having, and that's the important thing. But you and I are just two assholes, speaking into the vastness of the internet. And some people are going to hear us, and some people are going to be
Right.
like, they got a point, and some people are going to be like, these guys have fucking lost their minds, which is kind of the Denzel character in the film. I don't know. I found the whole thing.
Paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's talking about like just to pick apart some of the shit that you said, like,
Mhm.
okay, the Hollywood agenda is to make money.
Yeah.
There's no Hollywood liberal agenda. I think there are liberal
There are
people
liberals
in
in Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And I think a
think
lot of those people are genuine. Like, I do
yes,
believe that Rob Reiner was a genuine person
yes,
who believed, but even he had to
that's
align
why they killed
himself
him.
with.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I'm
What the
not
fuck did you say?
I said that's why they killed him.
Yeah.
But I'm not big. I'm
None.
coming off as an asshole
Yeah.
because it's kind of like, don't joke about that. But at the same time, the reason I say that is because that's the paranoid mindset that
Mhm.
it doesn't take very long. A lot of these are bots, and this goes back to software, hardware. When you see the comments in any fucking conversation, you're gonna get someone who goes right away. I forgot what that principle is, but it's like pretty soon someone gets compared either to Hitler,
Mhm.
or you get not to diminish comparisons to Hitler that are currently happening. And I don't mean in terms of like the level of atrocity. I just mean in terms of fascistic aesthetic and fascistic ambition.
Well, you gotta
So
understand, and this is what, and I don't mean to diminish anything that anybody's experience. I have to preface that, but Hitler was not just the Holocaust. Hitler was
right.
more. There were more, and there were things that led up to that empowered that, but that wasn't the only thing. We're talking about global. We're talking about a global fight for power.
It's a mindset.
Yeah. So there's I'm in agreement with you to a degree where it's like I do get tired of the Hitler comparisons, but sometimes the Hitler comparisons are spot on.
Well, yeah, that's why I think Jon Stewart fucked up whenever it was that he was like, "Can we not jump on the fascist labels and blah blah blah?" And then it's kind of like, motherfucker, like you're still reading yesterday's fucking. You're still reading the headline from the last hour.
Yeah.
Because there aren't. Now it's like you have to fucking check your internet, fucking Instagram news, TikTok news sources that have no sourcing every fucking few minutes to see what's the latest. But getting back to all of this is that Hollywood has, I think they like to present themselves under a liberal image.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the few people, the James Woods, the John Voight, the fucking all these other assholes, John Milius, who say, well, they like to present themselves as these outsiders. I think they were a little bit ahead of the game of trying to make it cool to be conservative. They failed, but I mean, now there are those who do think that that's the new outsider rebel cool or whatever. To get the, burn the libs or fucking whatever that fucking is. And I think Joe Rogan helped that. And all these other like little scumbags on the internet, fucking these influencers, the Tates, all those motherfuckers did also help that. But it's all fucking professional wrestling. It's the idea is to generate money. And the idea is to create a story. That's fucking marketing. You're creating a story about a product, and you buy into the people. You get people to buy into the story, and then they buy the product. And that's, in that sense, the first one is heavy on story. The second one brings in an actual item, a physical, like I said, the hardware, which is this implant. And I think that's why it's kind of like it bridges the two. The first one, what you're talking about, which is like the real threat, again, it's ideology, it's propaganda, it's what gets people to fucking the story around COVID, the story that you tell yourself or that you accept that other people tell you is either this is real or it's not real. If it's not real, then it's kind of like, well, there's not much. It's not real. And then either you get it and you fucking survive, or you get it and you die, and you say, well, it was just a cold, or else it's whatever the results of that are on an individual basis. And then you get into like rationalizations or whatever. If it is real, then it's like, well, it occurred naturally, it leaked, or it was engineered. And those are the options. And then people ride those off into the sunset with those fucking stories. And then with the vaccine, it's either the vaccine is part of a government plot, or vaccines have a history of fucking legitimate uses in terms of immunity. And with the caveat that, like, yes, there have been times where vaccines have been used for barbaric purposes against certain groups of people. Like, that's like, I'm like, yes, that can be true, and this one can still be beneficial, and so therefore,
Sure.
So the story that you tell yourself will and those stories will line up 9 out of 10 times. They're gonna line up with all the other the fucking battle lines on. A planet exploded. It was Joe Biden's fault. Something happened somewhere in the world. It was Joe Biden's fault. Fake news, witch hunt, lock her up. All those fucking slogans. you can see where the lines are drawn.
Yeah.
And this idea of, because you're going to have some people on one side that are going to say, well, Joe Biden this, Joe Biden that, Clinton is in the fucking Epstein files, crooked Hillary. And then you have motherfuckers that are like, we don't worship them. If Clinton is in the Epstein files, then he needs to fucking be prosecuted. Just like you're fucking God King. Everything at this point is us fighting to not become these fucking Manchurian candidates of not only the regular propaganda of the 60s from the original film, or just cultural and religious and societal propaganda that's always just existed. Just even the propaganda, the stories that we tell ourselves about that we grew up with in the home. Oh, these are these fucking realities of how things are in our household, that we think the world is that way because of the conditioning that our parents had. Or because of what they rebelled against, that becomes the narrative. Because there's that too. So there's all of that. But then now we have fucking, every time you watch a video, it's like, is this AI?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can tell certain ones, yes, they are. At other times, they become harder and harder. Or it's like, it used to be, oh, I know it's true because I saw it on TV. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, well, I know it's true because I saw it for 5 seconds as I scrolled. And then it's also like, well, nothing is true anymore. Or if it's true, I don't remember it because, or if it's true, I don't know if it's true because I didn't see it because the algorithm didn't show it to me because I'm not interested in that. The algorithm thinks that I'm only interested in Marvel movies. And so I didn't see that other thing. Let me teach the algorithm. It's teaching me to teach it to sell me shit that I may or may not want. Sometimes for me, the algorithm gets a little bit weird and it starts to send me things that I'm just going like, whoa, why am I seeing all this fucking Republican content right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And why am I seeing like Republican content and fucking like Asian models? And I'm going, oh, that's weird. That's interesting. Why is it tying certain weird things together? It's the mix. It's the mix of software and hardware. And that's what's fascinating to me about this film. The completion of that loop.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of still the things that last, which are still, it's no longer the idea of this communist bloc, but you still have some fucking TikTok businessman in a hearing and some fucking Republican senator going like, are you a member of Communist China? That was just like last year or the year before.
I remember that.
Like, I'm from Singapore. And he's like, have you ever been a Chinese citizen? I'm from Singapore, Senator. Are you a Manchurian candidate? He doesn't say that, but
yeah,
you know, and that's still a thing. It's still a thing. Russia. It's not the Soviet Union, but it's Russia as a superpower. China as a superpower. Canada just fucking basically said, all right, you fucked us. The US, you guys fucked us, so we're gonna make deals with China now. It's all spheres of influence. The idea of nation building, which is a neoconservative, neoliberal umbrella fucking, overthrow a leader and fucking under the guise of democracy. This film takes place right fucking before the second invasion of Iraq, which was a fucking war for oil and influence. And now we've just overthrown and kidnapped a fucking world leader and the president's like, oh no, we're doing it for oil.
Just flat out saying it. Not hiding behind it, not trying to with Lindsey Graham sitting there trying to explain it away. And him saying, but there's also the oil. I mean, it's the boldness of it, and the fact that there are maybe not half the country any longer, but a significant percentage of the country is saying it's the right thing to do because it's a matter of protecting their small piece of it and their identity. And I don't think I've ever been more frightened or sad about the species as a whole, or the country as a whole. Definitely the country, but the species as well. And I just don't see. I watch a movie like this and I think to myself, it's a lot more simple than this film. And that's
but it's
thing.
not. It is, but it isn't. That's where conspiracy shit lives, where it's like, well, if you look at a 9/11 and it's like, well, buildings don't fall like that.
Yeah.
It's very obvious that it was brought down, and that's a perspective. Someone else could be like, it's fucking obvious that they fell down because the fucking planes hit them and they were damaged and blah blah blah, and both sides are going to just argue and argue and argue, and they're both going to say, well, it's obvious and it's simple. And the truth is that there are things that are simple, so-called simple about it, but it's not obvious.
No, what I'm talking about, when I say it's simple, I'm sorry, I didn't clarify myself. What I said, what's simple is how easy it is to convince the public of something that isn't real, because everybody wants to believe like they have the answer or that they understand it. To be completely honest, I don't know what the fuck happened. I don't know. I have ideas. I look at a situation and I think to myself, well, that doesn't seem reasonable. But the one thing that I do know, the one thing that does make sense to me, that I am absolutely sure of, when it comes to power and the people in a position to dictate the actions, they are not going to care about who needs to be sacrificed in order to maintain their power, gain power, and push the narrative. And when I talk about simple, it really is about how easily it is to fool the public. The difference is now we have the internet with everybody out there using social media as a platform to talk about what they believe actually happened. And then you have everybody feeding on each other, and it becomes like a fucking rat king where these fucking things just get tangled up and there will never be an answer. You know what, 25 years after 9/11, I think we're reaching the point where some of those people don't even know what happened. And I think that also, also there were so many hands in it. The anti-conspiracy theorists like to say, they love this line where you can't find 3 or 4 people in Washington who can keep a secret. How would they keep a secret about 9/11? And that seems to be enough to placate some of the people. Some of the public, I mean. The truth is, when you have enough people who stand to benefit to the same degree, yeah, they're going to keep their fucking mouth shut. And anybody who's willing to speak up and say, I've had a change of mind, my heart won't allow me to push this agenda anymore, they're going to be written off. There have been numerous people who've talked about 9/11, numerous people who have talked about JFK. Some of them get, fucking kidnapped as they disappeared, as they call it today, murdered, done away with. People disappear into the ether. The simple thing is how quickly we are all to accept it and go back to our lives and say, well, that's just what it is. And I say it all the time. There's not a fucking thing I can do about it.
And you don't need a conspiracy to. You don't need a conspiracy around an event in order to benefit from it.
Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. But what I'm saying is, like, in terms of the war on terror and the fucking the profiteering and the erosion of civil liberties and the expansion of centralized government power that happened as a result of 9/11, like, that happened regardless of whether 9/11 was a so-called inside job or not. That comes from the idea of, like, well, we're never going to let a good disaster go to waste.
That's right. They have it. I believe that governments have it. They have that bullet in the chamber. So when when shit goes down, they will take advantage of it to erode whatever civil liberties, whatever freedoms that we believe that we have, and we will give them up gladly for the illusion that safety is what we receive in return. You're watching people you're watching people get pulled out of cars right now. You see a white woman get run over,
shot.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Shot right in the fucking face.
Yeah. But it's a matter of protecting ourselves from rapists and murderers and drug dealers that are coming across the border.
It's always them. It's always them.
Yeah.
And if you it's Charles Manson said it. He was like, you sell fear.
Mm-hmm.
He would always say they're buying it and selling it. They're buying it and selling it in fear. And he played his part, and he fucking benefited from his fucking his grifts as well.
Yeah.
And whether he was ultimately part of some experiment or if he was just a street motherfucker that played a role in what we understand to be, and a part of that is the media narrative as well. Like, it got promoted so much that it became this bullet point on the fucking 20th century. Like, this is what part of what fucking destroyed the 60s. You know what I mean? Like, in our consciousness, in our narrative of the mid 20th century, it's like we have these things, and how much of that is just shit that happened because the media like framed it like that. How big was the counterculture? I mean, it was large enough to get the attention of media so that it could be written about. That's true. Woodstock was large. That's true.
Yeah.
Media at this point is so fragmented that it's all fucking like algorithmic fucking destiny. You know what I mean? Like, what you see is dependent on not only what you're putting in, but what whoever the fuck it it thinks you are, and potentially like it could become like who it wants you to be. Um, and there are so many like you don't have to be kidnapped and put in a fucking padded cell or a fucking white room or whatever. You can just be like you can be in the little fucking ghetto of your own fucking algorithm. Because I don't want to see shit I'm not interested in. That's true. I'm not really interested in like shit about puppies and rainbows and all that shit. Like and beige architecture. Like so I want to see the things I'm into, but then well now I think the world is whatever I like. Yeah, and my world has just become that much fucking smaller. And now, there's a whole conspiracy about that's part of the 60s counterculture thing that is to say, in order to discredit the real movement, or I mentioned this last week, where some of these musicians also used to kind of send people in a certain direction. There are counter arguments that say it doesn't need to be that. It could just be that like the FBI had files on all these fucking people. A lot of counterintelligence officers' kids became rock people. A lot of that is because they rebelled against their parents. That's the ultimate fucking rebellion, is to become a fucking drug using fucking free love rock kid or rock star when your dad is a fucking admiral, like Jim Morrison. Um, there are people trying to control this shit, government groups, and there are people who are the victims of it. But the reality is that it gets to the point where this is the true sci-fi part of it that connects again the software to the hardware, is that it becomes a Frankenstein fucking monster, because Frankenstein's monster needed the electricity, but it also needed a body to be animated, to move, just to sit in. Ex Machina, like androids need bodies. Blade Runner kills not programs, he kills programs and bodies. We went to go see Blade Runner with the live music. Lambert, I know you were there. It was a shit. It's the connection, and whether it attacks, whether as fucking Elon Musk with his bullshit about the woke mind virus or whatever, the derangement syndrome here, whatever the fuck they talk about. Or you say, well, you're part of a MAGA death cult. Like, these things are motivating bodies. And I agree with you when you're like, the propaganda is the software and we are the hardware. I'm saying we can add fucking hardware to our hardware, which makes it like complete the loop, as I said. But it's like the conditions at a certain point get such a level that they're beyond the controllers. They're beyond all of these government fucking corporate groups. When when Wayland Yutani can no longer control the alien, that's the movie. When fucking Tyrell can no longer control the fucking replicant, that's the movie. And I think we're always in levels of that, where it's like, whether it's AI, whether it's fucking all of the political shit that's happened has led us to the point where recently we've had fucking an assassination of a high profile provocateur and the would be assassination of a fucking president. And that lasted however many news cycles, and then it was like on to the next fucking scandal, on to the next fucking thing. Um, it's fucking scary, and that's why I say this film should freak you the fuck out. It should freak you the fuck out for reasons that you know, and it should freak you the fuck out for reasons that we can't even imagine yet.
I agree with that. However, I still have an issue with it.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the movie is the movie is the movie.
Yeah.
The world is the world,
Yeah.
and this is the thing to be afraid about until next week.
Yeah.
When we bring you something else to be afraid about.
That bullet's in the
Buy me a
chamber.
copy. That's right. Buymeacoffee.com/watch RickRamos. That's buymeacoffee.com/watch RickRamos. This one goes to Slim. Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for your listenership. Any of you who like what we do, $5, small dollar donations, every little bit counts. Show us that you give a fuck. We'll show you that we give a fuck. Until next time, stay afraid. Stay afraid. Be very, very afraid.